In this episode, we talk about senior Congress leader Milind Deora quitting the Congress party. We also talk about Maldives asking India to withdraw its troops. But first, we talk about a murder in Goa. Hi, I'm Rahel Philipose, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Last week, a Bengaluru-based startup CEO named Suchana Seth was taken into custody for allegedly murdering her 4-year-old son at a hotel in Goa. Since her arrest, the Goa police's probe has uncovered some pretty chilling details about the crime, even though Suchana still maintains that she did not kill her son. In this segment, we are joined by the Indian Express's Pavneet Singh Chadha, who covers Goa for the paper, and he tells us how this crime unfolded.
So on January 8th morning, Kalangut police station in North Goa at 11 a.m. they received a call from a hotel in Gandulim, and basically the hotel staff found some blood stains in one of the rooms on the fourth floor in room 404. And when the police inquired about, the blood stains about the guest who had stayed in that room, police found that a lady by the name of Suchana Seth, who was a resident of Bangalore, had come to stay at the hotel. And she had booked the hotel from January 6th to January 10th. But she checked out on January 7th night, saying she had some urgent work, and she was also accompanied by her 4-year-old son. But the staff told the police that when she checked out, her son was not with her.
Now, the police, like Pavneet mentioned, was first alerted on the morning of January 8th, more than 10 hours after Suchana had checked out. And it is then that they kicked off the investigation, which began by calling the cab driver who was ferrying her to Bengaluru.
And while talking to him, police did not give much away, but they did mention that, they have a suspicion on the passenger who's traveling in the cab. They conveyed this to the cab driver. The cab driver spoke in Konkani, which was one very crucial element in this, that there was this element of sort of a confidence between the cab driver and the police.
The police spoke to the cab driver exclusively in Konkani, which ultimately helped them intercept the vehicle in Karnataka's Chitradurga district and nab Suchana, all without her realizing anything. But before she was taken into custody, the cops did have a brief conversation with her.
And when police asked her about the whereabouts of her child, she said, my child is with a friend of mine in South Goa. So the police asked her for the address. When she gave an address, the police station then immediately contacted the concerned police station in that circle and asked them to send a team to the address mentioned by Suchana. That address was found to be fake. So this was another point that police started feeling more suspicious about, that why would this person give a fake address.
The police were now convinced that something was wrong, and so they instructed the cab driver to bring Suchana to the nearest police station without her finding out about it. And Pavneet says that this took a tremendous amount of tact and presence of mind to pull off.
The cab driver was traveling with another co-driver with him. The logic was that sometimes, during overnight journeys, some drivers tend to fall asleep. So they got down on the pretext of a washroom break. They found a watchman at a restaurant, asked him what was the nearest police station. Language was a bit of an issue because when they were trying to figure out, where to go, all the signboards were in Kannada. So all this was transpiring while the cab driver was in regular contact with Goa police. And then they found that there was a police station about 500 meters from where they were at that point.
The taxi driver drove to the Aimangla police station in Karnataka's Chitradurga district. And it was here that the Karnataka police discovered the body of Suchana's 4-year-old son stuffed inside the suitcase she was carrying with her. When Pavneet spoke to the cab driver recently, he said there were quite a few red flags that he noticed during the journey from the hotel to the police station.
The cab driver, one very interesting thing he mentioned was that when Suchana first sat in the cab, he asked her, "Are you traveling alone?" And she said yes. And when he handled her suitcase to, put it into the boot of the cab, he said, "I found it unusually heavy." But he said, "But I didn't think much of it at that time." And he said that during the entire journey, she was extremely quiet. There was no conversation happening between the cab driver or the co-driver. Apart from one water break, they did not stop anywhere. Even when they were stuck for 4 hours at the traffic jam, the cab driver asked her, that if we could be stuck here for a very long time, and if you want, I can drop you to the airport since you have some urgent work. But Suchana said that irrespective of how longer it takes us, we will travel by road only. So he said, again, I found that a bit odd, and contradictory to the fact that she was earlier in haste and now they were stuck in traffic and she had no hurry to, take a flight or something and pay so much more. But then he said, I reasoned with myself that I am getting paid money.
Now, according to the police, even though the exact motive for the murder is yet to be established, during preliminary interrogation, Suchana mentioned an estranged relationship with her husband, Venkatraman PR, as one of the reasons.
They got married in 2010. In 2019, the child was born. And subsequently, some differences started emerging. In 2021, they separated, following which they were currently going through divorce proceedings. And there was a custody battle of the child being fought. So, under such circumstances, police is saying that in the last few months, in November precisely, the court, which was where the child's custody battle was being fought in Bengaluru, the family court had passed some order which was preferential, she felt, to the father. Like the court had allowed visitation rights. And it was something that had happened incrementally. Like earlier, the court had allowed the father to speak on the phone and over video calls. Then the court said, okay, the father has the permission to visit the child once in a fortnight. And in the last order on November 20th, the court had said that the father can meet the child once a week, every Sunday, from morning till evening. The exact motive is not yet ascertained, but this is the police theory that they have. The police believe that after the last order, she was probably upset that, the court has been giving preferential orders. And this is something that may have led her to committing this crime.
And according to the father of the child, Suchana had not permitted him to meet his son for the last 4 or 5 weeks, which in his statement he noted was in violation of the court's mandate.
So he said that he met his son last time on December 10th, almost a month ago. And for the last 4 weeks, Suchana was not sending the kid. So the arrangement was that they would always meet at a public place. So a day before the murder, on January 6th, Suchana sent an email to Venkatraman saying that he can come and pick up the child on January 7th, which was a Sunday, the day the crime took place. And he was hoping to meet his son. So at 10 a.m., he went to the location which was discussed between them. But he waited for 1 hour, but Suchana did not arrive with their child. He sent a WhatsApp message and 3 emails saying that I am here, I am at the spot, where are you? And if everything is okay. But after he did not receive any response, he returned to his house. And later that night, because he already had a work trip scheduled for a week to Jakarta, he left that night for Jakarta.
Now, the Goa police's investigation has uncovered that the 4-year-old was likely killed by strangulation. The police believe that he was smothered with a pillow or a piece of cloth. And according to the police's FIR, Suchana had called for 2 bottles of Benadryl cough syrup just hours before the child is believed to have been killed. Here, Pavneet tells us how the police believe the murder played out.
The police theory is that it is quite possible that she may have administered some cough syrup to her son to sort of make him unconscious before allegedly smothering him with a pillow or some cloth to kill her. So that again, adds another layer to the crime scene. Right now, one problem the police is facing is the establishing the exact timeline of the crime. Like police is still not sure when exactly the crime took place, and Suchana has maintained in questioning that she has not committed the crime. So in that, the postmortem says that he was killed 36 hours before the postmortem took place. So all these, some missing links are still something that add a layer of mysteriousness to the crime right now, which will come out as the police goes ahead with the investigation.
Another big focus of the investigation was the blood found on the floor of their hotel room. During questioning, Suchana claimed that it was menstrual blood as she was on her period. But on further investigation, the police found that Suchana may have tried to slit her wrists. They also discovered a crumpled up note in the suitcase that was carrying her son's body. This, the police believe, could be a key finding in their investigation.
And police said that the note was purportedly written by Suchana herself. And it alluded again to the custody battle and the alleged harassment that she has been facing. And police said that the note will help them in establishing the motive to paint a picture of the kind of state of mind that she was, allegedly in at the time of when the crime took place. And the note was written, with an eyeliner. There was a scribbling of 4 5 lines, again alluding to the custody battle. And this is something that was also established in police questioning. So Chana earlier this week recorded her first statement to the police, and in the disclosures that she made, there was a mention of the custody battle.
And what's interesting, Pavneet says, is that the boy's father, Venkatraman, is not looking to take any action against Suchana.
Yesterday, Venkatraman's lawyer also briefed the media regarding, the state of mind that Venkatraman was in. So one interesting bit was that he said there is no appeal for justice from us, and he also mentioned that his client does not care whether Suchana goes to jail or she gets bail or she gets convicted or for how many years. He said he's just not interested in that because he's so overcome by pain right now, and by appealing for justice or filing any complaints or seeking the reason as to why it happened will not bring the child back. So it was a very philosophical sort of briefing where the lawyer said that my client is just not interested in why this happened. At best, we can guess that this happened because maybe she was upset that the child should not come close to her father or develop any emotional bond. But again, he added that with the addendum that does not mean that you take that anger or frustration on the child. So it was sort of an interesting take that he said it does not matter to Venkatraman whether she is jailed or not, because he said his entire family is torn, his wife is in a lockup and his son is no more.
Over the weekend, soon after he recorded his statement, Suchana and Venkatraman briefly met at the Kalangut police station. Pavneet tells us how that exchange played out.
So both Suchana and Venkatraman had requested the police for a meeting since she was also at the lockup at the same police station and he had come to record his statement. So after his statement was recorded, there was a 15-minute meeting between them, in which, according to the police sources, there was a slight argument between them in which Venkatraman, this being his first meeting after the crime, confronted her, and the conversation was somewhere in the context of, like how could you do this, why did you do this crime, and she said that I did not do this. So it was just both the parties were laying blame on each other. He was asking, questions that if you did not do it, how was the body in the suitcase? And she sort of stuck to her stand, which she has also maintained to police, that I did not commit this crime, and that she was blaming him responsible for circumstances leading to this sort of incident, for the relationship breaking down, etc.
Next, we talk about Milind Deora quitting Congress. On Sunday, senior Congress leader Milind Deora resigned from the Congress party and joined the Shiv Sena, led by Chief Minister Eknath Shinde in Maharashtra. Deora had a long-standing association with the Congress, which he inherited from his father, the former Union Minister Milind Deora.
सुबह से बहुत लोगों का फोन आ रहा है कि मिलिंद जी, आपने आपके फैमिली का 55 साल पुराना रिश्ता कांग्रेस के साथ क्यों तोड़ा। मैं एक बात कहना चाहता हूं सबसे पहले कि मैं पार्टी के सबसे चैलेंजिंग दशक, सबसे चैलेंजिंग डेकेड में मैं पार्टी का लॉयर रहा हूं। अफसोस की बात है कि आज की कांग्रेस और 1968 की कांग्रेस, जब मेरे स्वर्गीय पिताजी ने इस पार्टी में शामिल किया हुआ, और 2004 की कांग्रेस जब मैं इस पार्टी में शामिल हुआ, दोनों कांग्रेस में बहुत अंतर है, बहुत फर्क है।
The decision to leave a political alliance that spanned almost 2 decades, especially in such close proximity to the Lok Sabha elections, raises concern for a party already struggling to motivate its cadre. To understand the reasons behind Deora quitting the Congress and his decision to join Shinde Sena, my colleague Niharika Nanda speaks to the Indian Express's Alok Deshpande in the segment.
So Alok, what kind of a place did Milind Deora create for himself in the Mumbai Congress?
See, Milind Deora is a son of Mr. Murli Deora. Murli Deora is one of the biggest Congress leaders from Mumbai, and he had a very big clout in Delhi as well. He was a union minister. Now, when Milind Deora contested his first election in 2004, it was kind of easy for him to get into politics because of his father and, all the legacy that he had from South Mumbai. At the same time, Rahul Gandhi was also entering into politics at the national level. So naturally, Milind Deora was considered as one of the members of Team Rahul. And because of that, he had an interesting political career ahead of himself. He was made a minister also in the central cabinet. At the same time, being an MP from South Bombay, he developed himself as a liberal voice of Congress, a business-friendly voice in the Congress, who always maintained good relationship with all the big industrialists in the country. And of course, it was easier for him because of his father's legacy. But he always maintained that image. It was pro-development image that he managed to, kept. And with that image, he continued till today.
Right, but despite this forward-looking image, he lost his seat both in 2014 and 2019. Could you tell us the reasons behind that?
One of the reasons is he was never a mass leader. In 2014, when he was contesting to keep his Lok Sabha seat. Of course, we all know 2014 was a Narendra Modi year. There was a Modi wave across the country, as we call it. And in that Modi wave, Arvind Sawant, who was contesting from Shiv Sena, was his opponent. That time, it was BJP Shiv Sena alliance against the Congress alliance, and Deora could not keep his seat in 2014. Similarly, after the defeat in 2014, nobody saw Deora on ground in Mumbai working hard to win back his seat. He got the ticket from the Congress party in 2019 election as well. But even then, he could not win the seat. He lost by a margin of more than 1 lakh. So maybe there are things like, he could not keep contact with his workers. There was discontent against him from Marathi voters. Also, the Shiv Sena BJP alliance was strong. And all these factors glued in. Plus, in 2019, Mr. Mukesh Ambani endorsed Milind Deora. But still he could not win that seat. So you can imagine that even the business community from South Bombay was not in favor of Deora at that time. These are the reasons why he lost his seat in these 2 elections.
And what do you think could have been the possible reasons behind his quitting Congress, especially before the 2024 Lok Sabha elections?
As we discussed, even after his defeat in 2014, he was never seen on the ground. He was made the Mumbai Congress chief then in 2019, but he left that post abruptly. It was a sudden decision which surprised everybody. After his defeat in 2019, one would have imagined that we will see more of Deora on ground, organizing his party, organizing his cadre, at least for his own constituency. But again, the same story was repeated. We very rarely saw Milind Deora on ground, working. Maybe he must have been working behind the curtains, nobody knows. But at least we as journalists or even the party cadre would say the same thing. He was never seen on ground. And when the political situation in 2024 is totally different from what it was in 2019, and 14. There's a split in Shiv Sena, there's a split in NCP. The Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena is an ally of the Congress and Shinde Sena is an ally of the BJP. Now, Arvind Sawant, who's the MP from South Bombay, is with Uddhav Thackeray. So naturally, Uddhav Thackeray's party would be claiming on Mumbai South seat. And I'm sure Mr. Deora must have sensed it that he was not going to get ticket from this seat. And that was one of the major reasons why he chose to quit Congress today.
Right. Now, what kind of an impact will this have on the Congress party, especially considering that there is discontent within the other party leaders as well?
We have to understand that, as we discussed, he's not exactly a mass leader, but he was a very important leader for the Congress party because of his deep relations with the business houses, with the industrialists in Mumbai and across the country, even internationally. So he had a clout in South Mumbai where many corporators, the local leaders, the MLAs, they owe allegiance to Mr. Deora. Now we are likely to see that many people who were with Deora will switch sides now. That will weaken the Congress party, especially in South Mumbai. Additionally, there is one interesting point, I think, that he was the only Congress leader who had the capacity to contest from South Mumbai for Lok Sabha. Now, there is no other leader in Mumbai Congress right now who can replace him. obviously that also means that the South Mumbai seat will go to Shiv Sena, that is Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena. So Congress has almost temporarily lost its claim on South Mumbai seat. That is another impact on Congress.
And how about the Shinde Sena? What kind of a gain is it for them?
See, if you talk about Eknath Shinde, Shiv Sena, they were always looking for a English-speaking elite face who has good equations with the business houses in the country and also who can represent them in Delhi, especially in front of Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi and other political leaders as well. So this will be a big boost for Eknath Shinde, Shiv Sena, that Milind Deora is coming to their side. And there are speculations that he will contest Lok Sabha election from Eknath Shinde's Shiv Sena. But we'll have to wait and see how things, develop. Because there was another speculation that he might be given Rajya Sabha also. So we are not yet sure what will happen next. We'll have to wait and watch.
And Alok, in what way do you think does Milind Deora plan to win his seat back in South Mumbai?
Mumbai South Lok Sabha seat is it's a very interesting mixture of different castes, different communities. There is a large chunk of Muslim population as well. There is a large chunk of Gujarati. There are equally larger chunk of Marathi population as well. So now when one of the tasks in front of Milind Deora would be to ensure to convey the message that though he has joined the Saffron Alliance, he has not given up on the principles that he believed when he was in Congress, if he has to maintain his vote bank. If you see all his corporators and MLAs were supporting him, many of them come from Muslim community as well. At least today, none of them have joined Eknath Shinde Shiv Sena with him. So it will be very tough task in front of Milind Deora if he is given Lok Sabha ticket. At the same time, the large chunk of Marathi population is currently stands divided because of split in the Shiv Sena. Now, whether that Marathi population will come with Milind Deora, that means Eknath Shinde, or it will stick with Uddhav Thackeray, that will be interesting to see. So he has a tough battle ahead. It's not an easy task at all. So we'll have to see how he decides to take on his opponent in Lok Sabha.
And finally, we talk about India and the Maldives. Amid the ongoing diplomatic row between Maldives and India, Maldivian President Mohamed Muizzu has set March 15th as the deadline for India to withdraw its military personnel from the country. In a press briefing, Abdullah Nazim Ibrahim, the Public Policy Secretary at the President's office, said, and I quote, "Indian military personnel cannot stay in the Maldives. This is the policy of President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu and that of this administration," unquote. Now, this announcement comes about 2 months after Muizzu had formally requested India to withdraw its military personnel from his country soon after taking oath as the president of the Maldives. According to the latest government figures, there are 88 Indian military personnel in the Maldives. Maldives and India have set up a high-level core group to negotiate the withdrawal of troops. The group held its first meeting at the Foreign Ministry headquarters in Malé on Sunday morning. The announcement comes at a time when the two nations have been at odds due to derogatory comments posted by 3 deputy ministers of the Muizzu government against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The social media posts by the Maldivian ministers led to widespread condemnation by Indians, many of whom called for a boycott of the island nation. The 3 ministers were ultimately suspended. Now, Muizzu is regarded as a pro-China leader. During his just concluded state visit to China, Muizzu sought to align Maldives closer to Beijing. Speaking to the press on Saturday after returning from China, President Muizzu indirectly attacked India. Without naming any country, he said, and I quote, "We may be small, but that doesn't give you the license to bully us," unquote. He also announced plans to reduce the country's dependency on India, including securing imports of essential food commodities and medicines and consumables from other countries. He vowed that he would not allow any external influence on the domestic affairs of the Maldives. Mali is also reviewing more than 100 bilateral agreements with New Delhi signed by the previous government here. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. It was written and produced by me, Rahel Philipose, Shashank Bhargava, and Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. You can also recommend the show to someone who you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcast and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.